Welcome to Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports, where husky middle-aged men share insight on the latest Baltimore sports news. From the bank to the yard and beyond, we're breaking down the Ravens, Orioles, Terps, and more. Baltimore's best sports podcast starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports Saturday night, late night edition with Jason and Mike. We are Johnless and thank God. I don't know, Mike, after those out in left fields by John and insulting all of our guests, I need an emotional break. An emotional break.
Yeah, John can wear on you out in left field. So I think maybe we need to move him to center or right. I'm not sure yet. We got to figure something out. Maybe get him centered. Center him. That makes sense, right? So maybe we got to get John centered, and things might turn out a little differently. But we let him have that creativity, and man, he has taken that rope and he has gone out to sea.
Just kidding, John. Just kidding. I don't think John has the wheels to play center field. He used to be a catcher, so probably has the arm in right field, but that's about it. That's about it. Oh, funny thing to kick us off, Mike. We'll do this real quick. So you're up. Let me paint a picture for you. You're in the World Series, Game 7. You're down by 1, 2 outs. Ricky Henderson on second base, and there's a base hit to right field. Give me a right fielder. You can give me more than one if you want. That you want that is going to throw Ricky out any generation. Who is it?
I think I saw this posed somewhere. Did you see this on the internet somewhere?
Oh, I did.
I didn't look at any of the responses though, but one name popped right to my mind. It was Yoenis Cespedes. Just because he has a freaking cannon.
He's a left fielder. He's a left fielder. But I need a right fielder. Oh, you can't take a guy with a good arm and but you can't take Ken Griffey Jr. and put him in right field.
Well, then give me a good old Oriole. Give me Joe Orsulak. Let him let one rip.
Michael, I thought you would reach in the baseball dungeon and pull me out a Hall of Famer like Roberto Clemente.
He's pretty good
too. Let's throw another name out there. This guy's not a Hall of Famer, but he had a Hoozle. Jesse Barfield. Let's throw that name.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I got one more.
Mondesi play right? He had a pretty good arm, right?
Yeah. I mean, so did Dave Parker. I mean, the other one would be Ichiro. Ichiro's a big one to me.
That's a really good one too.
So yeah, I thought we'd just kick it off with that. I did happen to come across that on the Facebook, which I do frequent. And I happened to see this thing, and I was like, "Oh, this is a good one. We should bring this guy."
Yeah, is that Jason out in right field? Is that different than John out in left field?
I don't know. I can't. I just can't. I mean, we know I got a letter from Jim's attorney. He is no longer going to be on the show anymore, thanks to Jim. John. So that'll be a whole thing. Okay,
Browns fans are used to that.
So are you guys thawing out yet up north, or do you still have that white stuff on the ground? What's your deal?
My kids basically built a half an igloo, and it's still standing in our front yard. It looks like a small fort. We're ready for any snowball battle that could take place between our neighbors and ourselves. A small fortress, and the ice isn't melting. It's been like 19 degrees every day, so there's nowhere to put the 6 inches of snow with the 3-inch ice topper that has been just hanging out on the side of the roads. Julie's been driving into the city for work, and she said she'll be driving down the road, and all of a sudden the lane will end. She'll be like, "Oh crap!" And she'll just have to figure out how to merge into traffic. She's like, "It's horrible downtown still."
My gosh!
But we did not go to school last week. We did not go to school. I don't know if they're going to have a delay on Monday or if we're all done and they're going to brave. I think it's more the sidewalks and the parking lots and things like that for the kids at this point. But yeah, it's been quite an interesting week up here in Baltimore.
So were you at home with the children without a companion?
Well, Julie was home because it was really bad the first couple of days. Like she couldn't get into work, but Wednesday through Friday, it was me and the kiddos just hanging out. I was doing painting in the basement. we would do that for a couple hours and then drop and play a game or go outside and sled or work on the igloo and then come back. Yeah, it was kind of pretty lazy bones days for the most part.
That doesn't sound lazy at all. That sounds very full of activities. Well done. Outstanding. All right. Well, the reason I ask is it is currently here in Florida 39 degrees, and
Ooh.
it's supposed to get in the 20s. So apparently, when that happens in Florida, you get something like wind and weather, dangerous weather advisories because it's going to be in the 20s. And I'm like, 20, what? I mean, we went out earlier today for hours and hours. I wore shorts. Everybody's looking at me weird. And I'm like, I mean, guess I'm trying to manifest the 80s again like it was last week. But I'm sitting here like, holy crap. Like, and I'm starting to realize why they have these advisories. Like these houses down here, a lot of them, they don't have like HVAC heat. They have heat pumps and they have all these other things that like take days to heat up. So, and like their insulation of these houses are not the same. So I'm like, oh, well, I can see now. This house that we're in, it seems fine. It's very toasty, but I'm a little tired of it already, and I've only had about a couple days of it. But it is too cold. There are lizards everywhere on the ground, frozen like this. Like it's a mess, man. It really is. So
Well, I'm glad that you're surviving that little bit of a cold flash in Florida
yeah, it's
because
pretty terrible.
you're right though. It's all about what you're used to because I don't think they have a ton of air conditioning needs up in Buffalo, but and down there you guys don't have a ton of heating needs most of the time. But here in Maryland,
Correct.
we get a little bit of everything. We're like that America in miniature. We got heat, we got cold, we got ocean, we got mountains. That's the great thing about the great state of Maryland.
Oh, that sounds terrible. That sounds terrible. I just something about waiting all year long to go on my beach vacation. I can't do it anymore. So that's why I'm here. All right. Speaking of can't do it anymore, the Ravens can no longer go without offensive coordinators and other coaching. Do you like that little mix in I did
Yeah,
there?
like a segue. That was great.
All right. So since we last spoke, the Ravens have brought in several coaches. I believe, let's see, if I go back in the order in which all this happened, I guess this was early last week. Former, what you call it, Notre Dame defensive coach Mike Mickens was brought on the staff to be the DB coach. So, and I know there's been a long relationship between him and Jesse Mentors. So, like for me, I mean that coaching staff at Notre Dame is top notch. So, I think this is a good one. I mean, that's an important position, Mike. Those D back coaches. I mean, if you remember, like there have been a jump from that coaching position into the head coaching, obviously coordinators, and then into head coaching. John Harbaugh was a special teams coach that they moved to D backs coach the year before he got the head coaching job because it looks more attractive on your resume.
Yeah. Jason, do you know if he was around when Kyle Hamilton was there and Alohi Gilman?
He was there for both of them. That's actually why I thought that Gilman would they might actually be bringing him back. I thought he was good as gone, and then Mentor had him in San Diego, but I know he had to be a part of the conversation to trade him for Oweh. But I guess on an even playing field, you will always take the pass rusher over the safety, right? Almost always, especially if you already have, depending on I guess depending on your system.
Yeah, I think it depends
So
on your area of strength too. If they're trading from their area of strength, and they needed a pass rusher, and it seemed like they did a good job with Oweh. And there's some rumors that maybe Oweh comes here because Minter enjoyed having him there in LA, and he had a great second half of the season there. So that's not out of the realm of possibility. But back to Mickens, it's I love so far, and we haven't gotten too far into it. So far, it seems like Jesse Minter is finding good young coaches that are up and coming from areas of strength, like Notre Dame defensive backs. Man, that's a great place to go find a defensive backs coach. Like you go to the college ranks, you go to a really good, consistent program, and you find somebody. Marcus Freeman runs a great program there, and you find a great coach there, and you get this young guy here, and now he's going to work with your defensive backs. And then, we haven't talked about offensive coordinator yet. I'm sure you're going to get to that, but it's very interesting that we've got these young guys coming in to kind of come alongside Jesse Minter and start them along a new path, hopefully that leads a little bit further into the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in the past, it was that the coaches weren't necessarily all these young guys. They were somebody that the Harbaughs knew, whether it was John, Jim, their father. There was people that were on the staff that was on Jack's staff at one point, and then there's people that John had coached that then came onto the staff. So this is kind of out of the box thinking for the Ravens organization, but it also means to me, or it seems to me, that this is Jesse Minter's show, and he is given carte blanche to hire whoever he wants. And so far, like, I'm sure Eric and all those guys have some input in it and have some direction, but whatever Minter decides, he's probably the final decision. Unless it's something crazy that happens, like the guy's like a terrible person and Bisciotti needs to step in, but that hasn't seemed to be the case. Yeah, so for me, I agree so far with what you said, Mike. So far, young guys. The next guy that they brought in, which I actually like this one probably went under the radar. And I don't know if a lot of people paid attention to this, but former offensive, I guess he's the O-line coach and run game coordinator for the Falcons, Dwayne Ledford. They brought him in, and one of his assistants, Sean Flaherty, both from the Falcons, to take over that run game. And that running game has been pretty good year in and year out. So the offensive line definitely needed a revamp. And the run game, I'm assuming that they will also take over the run game duties and whatnot. So to me, Mike, a good organization that has a good past in that area as well.
Yeah, and a couple of good backs down there, to hand the ball off to, which makes you look pretty good. So I think I wait and see mode. I don't know them very well, but something has to be done with the offensive line. We have Derrick Henry. Hopefully, Justice Hill will be back and healthy again this year. And it's really about blocking and scheming, I think, and what they want to do on offense. And so I'll be curious to see what those Falcons guys bring up here with them. Bijan Robinson's a freaking beast down there in Atlanta. So hopefully that means that Derrick Henry can tear up some backfields here in Baltimore with some of the scheming that they're doing down there.
I believe it's heavy zone scheming as well. But the funny thing to me is these guys were out of a job. These guys are top notch in the league. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of teams that had openings for this wanted these guys. The reason why, and I'm sure you listened to Kevin on Locked on Ravens, the reason why that they were available is because the Falcons actually brought in the best offensive line coach in Bill Callahan. So that's the only reason that this was even a thing, because they're like, yeah, we're going to upgrade here because this is the number one guy. This is who we all want to be. Because with his son getting fired with the Titans, he was out of a job, obviously. So they decided to go that direction. But so far, I'm impressed. And then probably the biggest news that everyone's been talking about is Declan Doyle being hired as a new offensive coordinator. He, ironically, is the same age as Lamar Jackson. He's 29 years old, and he is the youngest offensive coordinator. He comes from the Bears under Ben Johnson, which to me, that's kind of enough there. But he also coached with Sean Payton and the Broncos. So, and all at 29 years of age, all I have heard and read is nothing but good things that everyone around the league that's worked with him has to say. So I text you right away and I said, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I kind of thought they would go in this type of direction. Didn't know if it was actually going to be Declan Doyle or if it would be somebody like that. A guy coming up that was, I actually thought they would probably get someone that wasn't an offensive coordinator, but he was their offensive coordinator, but he wasn't their play caller. So now this is an upgrade for that.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Sitting offensive coordinator, you can't usually interview those guys, but the fact that he's going to come here and call plays, since Ben Johnson calls the plays up in Chicago. So it kind of double-edged sword there. You're able to get that guy from the system, which is really exciting. Obviously, if you follow what Detroit did and Ben Johnson did in Detroit, now what he's done in Chicago this year, going from, I think, the worst offense in football in Chicago to number 6, I believe, this year in offense. So that's regardless of who's calling the plays, someone's got to set up that offensive scheme, and that's Declan Doyle right now. But then the other side of that is he wasn't calling the plays. But hopefully he is able to take from what he learned from Ben Johnson, and he can bring some of the schematics that he used in Chicago with Caleb Williams looked dynamite at the end of the season. So hopefully he can bring some of those same types of plays here to Baltimore and get them into some type of rhythm, which they really lacked last year under Todd Monken. I think Todd got a raw deal a little bit. I think you and I both agree. You know, he had a down year relative to the other years he had here in Baltimore, but he's still a pretty good play caller. And there's big shoes to fill here in Baltimore and big expectations. So for a 29-year-old, it's a lot of expectations. So we'll see what he does, you know, with the numerous weapons that we have here in Baltimore. They got tight end City. I know they had Loveland up there in Chicago. You got Mark Andrews here. So you got a tight end. You had a bunch of wide receivers up there in Chicago to work with. You got a couple guys here. And then the run game here should be at a different level. So that's what we hope for.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the receiving core in Chicago compared to here, I don't think there's a comparison. Chicago's got some top-notch guys. Maybe, hopefully, once free agency, the draft, we have plenty of time to talk about that. But it's funny what you did say, though, and I'm going to get to that about. I don't even think it's necessarily on Declan Doyle. It's on. I keep putting the onus on Eric DeCosta. This is his show now. Up until the start of the season and training camp, this is his show. He needs to completely revamp the trenches, as we've been talking about. I think they need linebacker help. I think they need to make a decision there. Teddy Buchanan, is he going to be able to start the year? What are they going to do there? They could shore that up. Obviously, the D-backs. I mean, you have decisions to make with Marlon, a couple other guys out there who you're bringing back. And then a big receiver, probably. I think that might be like a big guy that can catch the ball in traffic, I think would help Lamar as well. But O-line and D-line. And then let Minter work his magic on the defensive end. And then once you give Doyle these weapons, hopefully then they can do it. But, Mike, as of right now, the way that the team sits, I mean, one of the reasons I bring this up, so I'm going to jump into this real quick. I keep reading these sites that I'm in groups. You're actually in one of the groups with me. And this one guy is always complaining all the time. And he complains again. And he writes in here and he's like, see, I told you all. Like, now we have a first-time head coach. John Harbaugh was a first-time head coach at one point, by the way. And everyone that usually gets to be a head coach is usually a first-time head coach at some point. Mike Tomlin was, okay. Anyway,
he did it right. Sean McVay did a good job too, I think.
Right. And then we have a figurehead going to be at the defensive coordinator. Well, yeah, because the guy you brought in is a pretty damn good defensive coordinator. Anyway, and then we're going to have a super young offensive coordinator. Well, you bitched about Monken. You bitched about, I don't know, let's go all the way back. Every offensive coordinator that's ever been here in Baltimore, we have complained about. It's been like the number one topic, except Flacco versus Lamar, whatever the hell you want to talk about. But anyway.
Yeah, where's Matt Cavanaugh these days? You seen him anywhere around town?
Cam Cameron. I mean, and then they won the Super Bowl. I mean, come on. It's just something to complain about. Now you finally get a 29-year-old who's never done it before. That's, to me, actually like one of the best things. He's got a lot to prove to himself. Not to me, to himself. But they wouldn't have brought – so Jesse Minter's job is at risk here over the next couple years. He's the guy. So why would he bring someone he thought was at risk? So to me, great move. But it's funny because you keep seeing these things. They're like, we should have brought in an experienced guy. Well, who? Mike McDaniel already committed to be an offensive coordinator if he didn't get a head coaching job. So he chose to do that. That was who everybody wanted. I'm good without Cliffy Poo. Again, want to hang out, Cliff, if you're listening out there. I want to hang out, but I don't want you to be my offensive coordinator. So, and then the same with the head coaches. None of the retreads really jumped out at me. So let's go with what we have. It's worked 2 other times. You got 2 rings because of it. So, Mike, that's kind of my rant. There's your Jason and right here because that's some BS, man. Like,
Yeah.
Calm down. Like the ink isn't even dry yet on the contracts.
Yeah, so quick to judge. That's all. Like, and some people wanted Joe Brady. Well, he got hired. Buffalo wanted him too. So let's see how that went down. And to get somebody from an offense that was as strong as a Ben Johnson led offense has been in the last couple of years, I think it's just a plus. And some people are saying, well, why aren't they going out and getting Jim Schwartz to be their defensive coordinator? Well, Jesse Minter runs a pretty good defensive program. He's done a pretty good job at Michigan. He did a pretty good job in LA. Like, why doesn't he want to run his own program? He's not going to want to run Jim Schwartz's program. Let him take care of the defensive side of the ball. People have been yelling about the fact that John Harbaugh doesn't know anything about either side of the ball for years and years and years. And now you got somebody who's going to dictate what we do on the defensive side of the ball. Let him do his job. And he hired somebody who now he thinks can handle the offense. And Jason, you make a great point. He's going to sink or swim with this guy. It's not, and young coaches. I think Steve Bisciotti's probably a little more, what's the word, lenient than some other owners, and might give him a little more rope, like maybe like you said, 3 to 5 year window. Whereas some owners that are a little bit more radical might just say, boom, 1 year and you're done. But I think he's looking the same way and saying, like, my window is small. I've got to make good decisions here with my coaching staff. You may not get another opportunity at this head coaching gig. Look at some of the coaches who have not had a second opportunity after they haven't been able to prove it. And somebody who didn't have success in Baltimore, it's already set up for some pretty successful opportunities to be here at a quality organization with a Pro Bowl quarterback. Some people might think he's one of the top 2-3 players in the league, and you're not successful here, you might not get another chance somewhere else.
Right. And it's one of my points that I actually forgot to make on that after hearing these different things people were saying. Everyone's saying we have to hire these retreads or these other guys because we're win now. We're in this window. Well, I don't think we're in that window as this roster is constructed right now. This was my point. We're not. You need a brand new offensive line. You don't have a center under contract. You don't have you're missing a guard under contract starting capability wise. Like you need to fix all of that before. And then let's talk about the defense again. I mean, again, getting older, missing right now, that team is not constructed to win now. Now, come start a training camp. And after that, absolutely. That's what I fully expect. Because in the NFL, you do a couple things here and there, you're right back in it. So no doubts there. Now, I did want to bring up some interesting names on the defensive coordinator spot because I know that they might be in a little pickle now because Jim Leonard, I think, was one of their top choices. Former Raven Jim Leonard, loved Jim when he was here. Great, fun player to watch. I think he coached a little bit previously on, I don't know if it was Rex Ryan's staff or he brought him in to play there and whatnot. But he was he's an assistant down in Denver. And now the Bills are hiring him to be their defensive coordinator. Well, he'll get to run his own program and pick his own plays. And I think that might be at this point. He was also at the University of Wisconsin as a D coordinator. I think he wants to run his own show. And you, again, won't get to necessarily be the main guy. But some of the other things that people may forget, you still get paid as a defensive coordinator, not as a D-line assistant, which you obviously get paid less. You may get credit for because Jesse Minter has to run the whole team. So they do have to run his program and still have that in there. Some names that might sound familiar. One of the popular ones is Chiefs defensive line coach and former Ravens coach, Joe Cullen. He was here for, I guess, from 2016 to 2020, coached with Minter. There's some familiarity there. I actually thought he might have had a shot at the D coordinator job, at the head coaching job, because they had interviewed him for that. I'm like, oh, interesting, kind of weird, because I don't think he's that. And then LA Charger D-back coach Steve Klinkscale, and he coached with Minter in Michigan, and he was he was a defensive coordinator at the University of Cincinnati as well. And then obviously he's in San Diego now, or LA. I keep messing that up. And lastly, so you have this food for thought. Our old friend Wink Martindale, which sure, because all you are is a gopher. I mean, let's be honest. and then maybe Wink will get another shot somewhere else. So those three names to me, Mike, I thought they were very interesting. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, I think you're probably in the right ballpark with those names because, like I said, I don't think you're going to bring somebody in that has their own program. I think you're bringing someone in to run Jesse Minter's program, and so you're going to find someone who Jesse Minter's familiar with, probably, and probably somebody who comes from a 29-year-old can't have much of a tree, but like comes from a similar tree of John or Jim Harbaugh somewhere in those Harbaugh family trees. You'll find one of those defensive guys you pointed out, Cullen and Leonard and those guys who've been here before. Great fits, probably. But someone who's clearly on board with whatever Jesse Minter wants to do with the defensive secondary and defensive line. And the defensive coordinator runs practice for the defense. So, like, there's a lot of duties besides just calling the defensive plays that is involved. And how he operates with the team, how his relationship building skills are. There's a lot that goes into it. I don't think it should be overlooked who they decide to go with here. But I also, obviously, the play calling piece is something that you take off that person's plate. So they really should be good at those other things when you're thinking about the person that you choose.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think they take any of these lightly. I think, um, like I said, whatever they decide is probably going to be the right choice there. I mean, but the major decisions really have been made, I think, as far as coaching wise. Your offensive coordinator and your head coach, because he'll be calling the defensive plays. I'm very, like I said, I'm very happy, very confident. I do not think this team is ready to win the Super Bowl yet, as I've said, and that's okay because right now we haven't even figured out who's winning this Super Bowl yet. And speaking of that, Mike, speaking of that, we have the New England Patriots taking on the Seattle Seahawks, and once again, I will be the biggest Seahawks fan. I think I saw like a 6 point favorite or a 4.5. I mean, something that I didn't expect. I expect this game to be much closer than that. I think Sam Darnold has played great during the playoffs, especially last game. And I think things are going to get harder for him against New England because their defense is pretty good as well. Both teams' defense. I mean, this might not be an exciting Super Bowl for those that like to see a lot of offense, but Drake May is still very good. And I mean, only reason I think he was held in check, not the only reason, because Denver's defense is good, but the main reason I think he was held in check was because of the weather in Denver last time. So to me, Mike, I think this is going to be a pretty good game if you like close football games.
Yeah, I don't have a great feel for this game quite yet. I feel like it should be a close game, like you said. Both teams defensively strong. Um, Drake May shouldn't feel a ton of pressure, I wouldn't think. I mean, there's a little bit of pressure, obviously, if you're in the Super Bowl, but like he's so young in his career. He doesn't have all the weight of, like, say, a Lamar Jackson who would get there for the first time maybe and feel the pressure of finally winning one. He doesn't have that yet. Whereas Sam Darnold might have a little more of that pressure on him, with the playoff loss in Minnesota, and then the questions throughout his career, bouncing around from place to place. He has a little more baggage, I would say, than a Drake May. But obviously, it doesn't come down to just a quarterback. That Seattle defense has been nasty, and Mike McDonald's done a fantastic job with them. But on the other side of the ball, Mike Vrabel and the defense over in New England's been very, very good this year too. And how about their GM, man? With the free agent signings and the draft, and like they have filled that team. They've turned that team around in a year. Just super impressed by what New England has done. All I know is if it's a last play of the game, they better hand the ball off if they're on the 1 yard line and get that running touchdown instead of trying to throw a quick pass, quick slant like they did in the last time these two teams met in the Super Bowl.
I think that coaching staff is that went out with that staff, I think. But oh my gosh, tell me about it. Yeah, I don't know. It's 4.5, so Seattle's a 4.5 point favorite. I think I'm going to put something down now before it changes on New England to win outright. I don't want them to, but that might be the smart bet on the money line because it might pay off. Otherwise, unless you're going to put down a couple bucks on it, I mean, 4.5 is a lot of points in the Super Bowl, I think. It might not sound like it, but goodness gracious.
Well, there's no home field advantage. Usually you get 3 points for being at home. There's no real
Right.
home. So, like, you're telling me they're that much better? I don't know.
I mean,
Like a lot.
look, New England fans travel well, right? So I do, but Santa Clara is a lot closer to Seattle than New England. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I don't know. We'll talk a little bit about that next week, leading up to it. I guess once some things tighten up, but I don't know, man. I think it'll be pretty tight, pretty close game. The only other thing I wanted to mention was big news in Cleveland. They finally decided on a head coach, and I think it threw everyone for a loop. They went with Todd Monken, which I wasn't so quick to want to fire Todd Monken like everybody else, because every year that he was an offensive coordinator here, he had interviews to be a head coach, and that wasn't all Lamar. I mean, Lamar wasn't. It was a lot of the offensive coordinator and what he had to offer here. So I don't know how he's going to do as a head coach. I don't picture him as a head coach. I just, for whatever reason, interesting. It seems like, sorry, Jim, but it seems like a Cleveland move, desperation. But you just probably chased your best asset, which is your defensive coordinator, out the door. So I don't know if Munkins chose a defensive coordinator yet. I was thinking like Anthony Weaver would be in those discussions, guys like that. I don't know. And what do you think, Mike? What's the first thing you thought of when you heard
I
it?
I don't know. Like, he's a great soundbite when they play him on the radio. Like, he's a straight shooter, and some players love that, and some players probably won't love that as much. So, like, if you're someone who likes to hear it straight, this probably works really well. If you're someone who likes it sugar coated or needs it sugar coated, I'm not sure that's what you're going to get with Todd Monken. So he might be a little abrasive. We'll see if the Browns locker room jumps on board. I think if they do, it could be a really nice fit. I think he could work well with Shador Sanders if he becomes the answer in Cleveland, because of his offensive mind. They do have some weapons there if Judkins can come back healthy, and um, you know Jerry Judy's been pretty consistent for the most part. They need to get some more offensive weapons, I think, in the draft. And the tight end Fannin, they've got some guys on offense. So if Monken takes care of the offense side of the ball, they find someone who can keep the defense firing all cylinders. I mean, if you're looking at it, the end of things that Cleveland really needed to fix, it's the offensive side of the football. So the higher that we were looking defensive guys just because of the MO of Cleveland, it might make some sense for the Browns to go offense here and try to fix the side of the ball that they've been struggling with.
Well, it's interesting because Monken, like I was just sitting there thinking of coaches that inherited really good defenses that are offensive guys. Brian Billick inherited the Ravens defense, and he was an offensive guy. And I don't know if the offense flourished under Brian Billick. I wouldn't necessarily say that. It definitely stabilized, right? Did enough to win the Super Bowl, but that defense was historic anyway. But Cleveland's, I mean, there's a couple things they can do. I mean, I'm not convinced with the quarterback situation there, what they want to do. Deshaun Watson might get a shot. I don't know what their cap situation is like, but maybe they're in the running for the Green Bay backup, which is face
Malik Willis.
Willis. And I don't know. I don't. I mean,
Kirk
I don't know
Cousins
if Shooter.
sweepstake. Is Kirk Cousins going to get a job this offseason?
I mean, I don't. I don't know if that's a step up. When you just want to work with Shador, bring in a
I
good
would.
quarterbacks coach to work with Shador. Um, Now that T. Martin isn't in the Ravens' plans, maybe unless they bring him back as a quarterbacks coach, I don't know. Maybe he goes to Cleveland and mentors Shador. I don't know. So all kinds of stuff, but no, I did think that was interesting on what they were doing, and it was surprising. That I can say. So, Mike, do you have anything else you want to add on this before we move forward?
No, I think we've hit pretty much most of the coaching carousel. Um, I look at the AFC North and the fact that we have three new head coaches in the AFC North, and it's kind of interesting. Yeah, there's been so much stability there, and Zach Taylor is the last man standing. It's just kind of funny as I just shake my head. Now he's a guy who's gotten to two AFC Championship games and the Super Bowl, so I don't think that you can just kind of discard him or discount him altogether. But now he's the veteran coach in the AFC North.
Ugh. Okay, so I do have just a couple questions for you. Now, I named this part of our football segment "This or That." I don't know how this is going to go. Okay, Mike. Does Jesse Minter win the AFC North next year, or what is okay? Let's put it this way: what is more likely? Jesse Minter wins the AFC North next year, or John Harbaugh makes the playoffs with the New York Giants?
I'm going to say that John Harbaugh makes the playoffs. Just the track record of success is the answer for me. Like, I need to see what Jesse Minter brings before I can say anything. I haven't seen him head coach one single day of his life, but I've seen John Harbaugh for 18 years, 17 years, whatever it is.
So John Harbaugh made it to the AFC Championship his very first year as a head coach, and again, really good defense. And Joe Flacco is a rookie quarterback. I mean, he has a quarterback that seems pretty good to me. If everybody else can fall in line, their defense isn't bad. The defense isn't the worst part of that team. So I tend to agree with you. The only holdup I have is who's going to win the AFC North. Like, okay, so it's not going to be the Browns. Were you putting your money in your boy Zach Taylor's corner? Because I think they're looking for a new coach next year.
That might be the answer. I mean, if you're looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, we don't even know who they're going to be. Who's going to be their quarterback? I mean, there's big question marks there. And then Cleveland, like you said. So Cincinnati is the easy answer. But, I mean, to me, Pittsburgh's been a perennial playoff team for the last few years. It could be them. Maybe Cleveland finds lightning in a bottle. But I'm thinking more along track record lines. I think either are quite possible.
Let me tell you why the Ravens are going to win the AFC North. I think because, honest to God, I'm harping on this. Eric DeCosta, if he doesn't turn it around, will be looking for a new job next year. And I believe in that strongly. And that means going in there and making some drastic changes and making changes that affect your team this year, not necessarily 2 years down the road. You were lucky. You had John in there. You had Lamar. And, everything kind of came to a head last year. But everything had been consistent year in and year out. But you're old in certain positions where you cannot be old. You're not good in certain positions where you have to be good. Offensive line. You don't have anyone to get to the quarterback. So you have to make these changes to put yourself in that position. And I think he's going to, because I do think he feels the pressure. So that's why I think the Ravens. The other one, will Todd Monken, or over under, let's do it this way, over under 6 wins for Todd Monken next year.
Let me see Cleveland's schedule real quick. They play Baltimore, Pittsburgh twice. Oof, I don't know.
Cincinnati
twice. Oh man, I'm already at a few losses there. But they do have a last place schedule. So yeah, I think they get the 6 wins. 7. You're asking me for 7 though, right? Do they get the 7? Under.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm not saying.
I think 5 or 6 is a happy spot. That's where I think that's where they end up.
But I don't think 6 wins gets you canned either, because it might not make you. It depends on how you lose those games, right? Like how it goes about doing it. I think their quarterback situation is a mess. I think they have to figure it out, and it has to be definitive. And once they make those changes, then maybe things will start working out. What other one do I have for you? Let's see. Which ones? I'm trying to think of a really good one that I had earlier. John Harbaugh, over under 9 wins.
Mm-hmm. So the Giants are playing a last place
schedule.
schedule. Yeah, Giants are playing a last place schedule. The Commanders, I assume Jaden Daniels will be back next year at some point. That'll be a tough That'll be tough. Eagles will always be tough. Cowboys will always be tough. So the division will be tough. They got to play them for 6 games. Man, 9 wins is high. I think that's right at the right spot, though. I think, I'm going to say over just because I said John's going to make the playoffs. So I'm going to say they get to 10 wins.
I'm going to have to say under just because 10 wins is a lot of wins. So I'm just going to go under. Yeah. Maybe I'll go even. No, I'm going under.
There's 7 losses in there now. It's not, they play 17 games. So that's reasonable. It's only 3 games over 500.
Oh, that's great. All right, last one. How many Ravens players from this past season, so you had to be on the roster last year, joined John Harbaugh in New York? You can name them if you want.
Man. Well, if you're looking at free agents, I'm sure John would love to have Pat Ricard there. And I don't know if we'd be willing to match that. I hope we would be, but who knows what Eric's thinking. He's got a lot of holes that he's got to plug. Linderbaum, another guy that you would look at that he may want to have up in New York. So that's somebody you think might follow him there. I'm not sure. Maybe a Van Noy, like somebody on the tail end here that could end up there. I say at least 3. At minimum, 3 players from the current roster end up in New York.
So I'm kind of around the same on you here. I think it's more like, I'm even thinking 3 or 4, and I'm thinking Patrick Ricard for sure. I think Linderbaum stays here. I think that would be a huge loss. Patrick Ricard, Isaiah Likely goes. Because even though they have a couple tight ends in New York, he does something completely different, right? And then 3, I think Ardarius Washington goes to, I hope not, but it depends on if he fits in Minter, what he's trying to do. Minter likes the safeties just like the rest of them do. Like every coordinator, him and Mike McDonald and all these guys that came from the same tree there for that. And I'm sure I missed somebody else. I was thinking maybe Marlon Humphreys would go up there with John, but I don't know.
The other thought too is, depending on what the Ravens do with their running back depth chart, like I could see a Justice Hill. John loves Justice Hill, something like that, or I know he's under contract, or like if Keaton Mitchell gets shed somehow, like I could see a guy like that easily kind of going up there to New York and kind of following John.
Yeah. I don't know what Keaton Mitchell's contract situation is. I don't know what those rookies get when they first come in late rounds, but okay. All right. Anything else you want to touch on with the football?
I'm good.
All right. So, Mike, you have the rundown for us this evening, or for me, I guess.
I do. I have the rundown for you, Jason. You only, because John is not here.
Thank
So
God.
if I had the rundown for more than one person, that would be bad. All right. The rundown is a kind of like your this or that segment, but I'm just looking for quick answers from you, Jason. Variety of questions, some this or that, some just a quick hitter. Give me what you got as far as your thoughts. Orioles' next signing will be ... Framber
Valdez.
Ooh, you still think the Framber. Give me a quick why.
I just think that they need to. You said signing, right? If they are going to sign him, that's who I think they're going to get. It's so funny now. You see Giolito, you see Gallen. They're not interested in those guys. I'm not convinced they're interested in those guys. The Framber thing is what I said last week. I think it comes down to years, and it might be a 1-year opt-out, a 2-year opt-out. But I do think there's some interest still there.
So we just spoke a lot about the coaching carousel in the NFL. Which coaching hire besides Jesse Minter to the Ravens do you like the most that took place so far this offseason?
I like John Harbaugh, but
I say it
I
could be a head coach.
It
could be an assistant. Yeah, go ahead. John Harbaugh's a great one.
I do. I also like Robert Saleh to the Titans. I think there's a lot less pressure there, and he can do his own thing without all the crying that's coming. I'm assuming the Cardinals will eventually hire someone, and I think Clint Kubiak to the Raiders might be a good one if that happens. But what has happened so far, Harbaugh to me is by far. I mean, that's the difference of getting you. It just settles everything with a guy like that.
Well, Jason, you said it's what, 39, 29? Would you say it's down there in Florida right now, temperature
Oh,
wise?
it's effing cold, man. It's effing cold. It's 38 right now.
Well, it's 13 right here. It feels like -1 in Baltimore.
Oh my
And so
god.
my question for you is, in this cold, cold weather, what is your favorite hearty meal for a cold
Oh.
weather day?
Oh man, what is my favorite hearty meal?
Something that'll help that
Cold
dad
weather
bod out.
meal. Oh, I like meatloaf. I like homemade, like my mom used to make. I've like kind of copycatted it. It's fantastic. It's not healthy anymore because of all the crap they put in things, but like it's based off of like it's ground beef with oatmeal and what do you call it? Campbell's tomato soup,
Hmm,
and it's all mixed together. Oh, it's fantastic. Yes, probably my favorite.
that's awesome. I like a nice chicken pot pie. Like if I had to go to,
Nice.
like real nice chicken pot pie. All right. More likely next year, under Declan Doyle's tutelage, Lamar Jackson has 750 yards rushing, or Derrick Henry has 1,500 yards rushing.
I think Derrick Henry 1,500 yards. How many did Lamar have this year? Do you know that, Brendan James?
Ooh, it's not off the top of my head, but I can find out because I got this thing called the internet right in
Yeah,
front of me.
I wonder if it'll be scripted for him to run a lot. It's funny because like the Bears didn't have Caleb run a lot. They had him scramble, but no real design runs. I wonder. It also depends on who else they bring in. Like, do they bring in other receivers he can throw to, or is this gonna? I mean, I think it's more likely that Henry has 1,500 yards.
All right. Let's see. Lamar Jackson rushing yards. Looks like he had 349. Is that right? That
He
sounds
didn't run
low.
much this year, man.
Yeah, 349. Wow. But in previous years, in 2018, 695, and then he had that back-to-back 1,000 yards. He had 1206, 1,005 in 2020, 767, 764, 821, 915, and then 349 this year.
I think the 750, the threat of running would mean that he gets to about 700 ish, if that's what they're planning on doing. But there's no need. If he just needs to change a couple things he does. Like again, this guy isn't Jesus. Like he's allowed. Like we're allowed to criticize him. Like some people think he can't, but he needs to get rid of the ball faster. He needs to not drop back so far that the offensive line collapses. He needs a better offensive line. It's again not all on him, but it is on him a little bit.
All right, one more follow-up to that. Who's more likely to have 1,000-yard receiving season in the new offense? Is it Mark Andrews or Rashad Bateman?
Oh God, neither. But Mark Andrews,
Mark
not
Andrews. All right.
Bateman. I mean, I think Zay's going to have 11, 1,200 yards. So I don't know if another guy's going to come close to 1,000 yards.
Yeah. So Zay's going to be all alone again in the 1,000-yard club. But you know what?
No,
We'll
it
take
could
one
be the
because
guy that
what?
it
Who
could
else?
it could be Alec Pierce, who they signed from the free agency this year, because that'd be a perfect signing for this team. A big, fast, get away from the like type guy, be perfect. That's gonna. We'll talk about this in future weeks, but that's probably one of my main targets of free agency.
All right. First-time Pro Bowler Joe Flacco
Oh God.
and Shadur Sanders will take the field as AFC QBs. Can we finally say the Pro Bowl nods are just a joke? And when it comes to Hall of Fame consideration, these numbers of Pro Bowls made, I feel like, are they just not even relevant anymore?
So what they need to do, if this is what's going to happen, they say they vote for the Pro Bowl. The guys that get elected to the Pro Bowl, that can go on their resume. Anyone else that plays in the Pro Bowl, they are not called Pro Bowlers. They are playing in the Pro Bowl game because the other guys decided to wuss out, they're hurt, or they just have bitter feelings.
I think that's probably a good call because I can't even think about like Shadur Sanders this year be a Pro Bowler and Joe Flacco. Think about the number of years he had in the shadows of such great quarterbacks as Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, yada yada. And this is the year Joe Flacco makes Pro Bowl. Hilarious.
More importantly, they didn't play full seasons.
I know.
He did
I
not play
know.
full seasons. Oh
Oh
my gosh.
man. All right. Ravens finish as a top 5, top 10, or outside of those on offense this upcoming season under Brenton Doyle, the new offensive, or Declan Doyle, the new offensive coordinator. But I would love for
Top,
Brenton Doyle to be the new center fielder. That'd be great, but this is a different conversation.
I'd say top 10. I have a feeling this is going to free up some things. And I think that Jesse Minter is going to play a big part in analyzing what was done to them defensively. I don't need to have any NFL coaching experience to tell you what was done to us offensively or defensively. We just couldn't protect the quarterback. We could not push back people. Again, we were looking down, staring down wide receivers a lot of times. I don't know what else to say. Yes, top 10 for me, Mike. Top 10.
Oh, good. How about defensively under Jesse Minter? Do you see them as a top 5, top 10, or outside the top 10 defense?
I'm going to say top 10, just because. But that can flip flop very easily. I don't want to get too far ahead of things because personnel again is huge, on both ends. But the capabilities. So the reason I said it on offense mainly was because of Lamar. He can catapult that up, and Derrick Henry alone means top 10 to me. Defensively, Hamilton, Roquan, maybe if they can get him back, if he's even on the roster. So that's why. And if I say top 10, I'm thinking 9 or 10 right now, which isn't a bad thing.
Your fighting Maryland Terrapins basketball team takes on Purdue at Xfinity Center at 1 p.m. tomorrow. The line is 14.5 points. Can our Turtles cover?
Can they? Absolutely. Will they? Probably not. I need a good showing, though, because Obina Akizi Jr. is in the house. 5-star recruit. So they're trying to impress him to come in here next year. So that's what I want.
Gosh, you know how old that makes me feel because that is basically when I started watching Maryland basketball. Obina Akizi was our big man. Full circle, my friend, and I feel super old hearing that name.
You're old. I used to watch Johnny Rhodes and X-Ray Hips and Dwayne Simpkins play.
Ugh. How does Bill Belichick miss out on the Pro Football Hall of Fame? I just don't understand it. Jason, explain to me why.
Oh, man, I'll tell you, it looks so bad. It doesn't look bad on Billy Boy. It looks bad on the NFL. Not even the NFL. I guess the Hall of Fame is a separate entity if you want to do that. But
the voters.
That looks bad on them, man. Because shame on you. What the hell are you doing? So what? There's a couple scandals. And yeah, so they had tapes of practice. Dude, you know how many things that coaches do to try to gain an edge and have gotten caught and slapped on the wrist? Come on. To me, that's stupid. It's bad look. And Bill Belichick deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. There shouldn't be a Hall of Fame coaches wing. If so, it's like Shula, Belichick.
Yes.
If they're not in it, who are you trying to live up to?
He has Super Bowl rings that he can't fit on one hand. Come on.
2 as an assistant, 6 as a head coach. Let me tell you, man. Tom Brady might not have won as many rings as it wasn't for Bill. I'm not saying he wouldn't have won rings without him, but he might not have won as many. That's a really good head coach. And you know what? The Baltimore Ravens wouldn't be the organization they are if it wasn't for Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick made those trades in Cleveland to get those first-round picks. Then they had the poo-poo year before they came to Baltimore, and they got John Ogden and Ray Lewis in the same draft. By the way, he also Ozzie Newsome. He played a big part in his success in getting him in there as a general manager. I can name guys who's at Kevin Burns, the PR guy, who's a huge fan of. I mean, he's played a big part in a lot of people's success over the years. So yes, Hall of Famer by far.
Crazy. Uh, all right. So, last question in the rundown. I have the list that ESPN put out of the top 50 free agents, and you kind of touched on this briefly in the last segment. And I'm going to read you the top 10 free agents on ESPN's NFL list. And I just want you out of the top 10, give me a name or two that you would target on the list. So, number one is Trey Hendrickson, edge rusher from Cincinnati. George Pickens, wide receiver, Dallas. Tyler Linderbaum. Daniel Jones, quarterback at New York Giants. I think we could safely, or Colts, excuse me, Giants and Colts. I would safely say he's probably not on our list. Jalen Phillips, edge rusher of the Eagles, formerly of the Dolphins. Alec Pierce, who you mentioned, wide receiver, Colts, number 6. Brees Hall, running back from the New York Jets. Rasheed Walker, offensive tackle, Green Bay. Adafe Owe, edge rusher from the Chargers, and then Braden Smith, tackle from the Colts.
George Pickens. George Pickens would be probably one of the top guys I would go after for sure. Offers you something you don't have. Again, Pierce would be a nice if you don't get Pickens type move. He's going to cost money. You do have cap space. You can figure this all out, but he's not my number one. Trey Hendrickson is my number one. The easiest way to get a pass rusher at this point without having to give anybody else up is just go sign someone. That would, again, if they don't go after a guy like that, I have confidence that Jesse Minter has a good reason why, because he's going to be playing this part. I mean, Linderbaum needs to be on this list, and then Phillips for me is on this list. But again, when I mention defense, it's got to fit into what Jesse Minter's trying to do, and I would have a hard time. Like, it seems very tough for me to think he wouldn't be interested in some of these guys anyway. But to me, Pickens, Pierce, 1A. What about you? Who kind of jumped off the page to you?
Well, Hendrickson to me obviously jumped off the page. I mean, I know if you scroll down the list further, which I didn't really talk to you about, is there's some guys like Khalil Mack who has ties obviously with Minter. Is he still have any gas left in the tank? And then there's some linebackers that really I think are interesting, like a Devin Lloyd that's still around from the Jaguars, Quay Walker from Green Bay. You got some guys who maybe have a little bit of side-to-side speed. The guy from the Eagles, the linebacker, not the guy last year who signed. The guy Nolan Smith is a free agent. So like guys like that who can go sideline to sideline. To me, I don't think they really go too high on the top 10 list. Maybe one of those guys. It might be Linderbaum, but Hendrickson would be the only other guy to me that really pops.
So one of the things that they haven't done over the years, and Kevin Allstreiger from Locked On Ravens talks about this all the time, is they don't get real active on day one of free agency. If there's someone on this list that jumps off at you, if you think George Pickens is a difference maker, for by the way, which he is, and Lamar could do a lot of stuff with him. Like, I mean, he had over 1,000 yards receiving as the number 2 in Dallas.
Well, let me be devil's advocate, Jason. Like as a first-time head coach, and you don't know what the locker room is going to be like for you necessarily. Is that a risk you're willing to take on that talent when you know that he's obviously had some issues with Mike Tomlin and whatever happened in Pittsburgh? And are you willing to take that chance? Is the question.
So Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, two extremely strong personalities, right? And yeah, John Harbaugh became a player's coach later. And I think some people would say that Tomlin's a player's coach too, but they also are my way or the highway type guys. I think that it's important for what happens in the locker room for the players to get along with each other and to know. And like, obviously, unless there's a mutiny or something, which is insane, but if the players get along with the other players, they can kind of keep each other going and kind of keep each other in line. And that's why it was so hard. Who's the receiver we had here? Deshaun or Johnson from Pittsburgh, and then Carolina, and then here he's bounced all over. Deontay Johnson. I don't know if you paid attention, but when we beat the Texans last year and he had signed with the Texans, I think he I mean, they were all Henry and all those and Lamar. They were all over each other, hugging and it's like, oh hey, we miss you, blah blah blah. So it's important also that the locker room accepts these guys and takes them in. And I think George Pickens is a winner. And I do think that now could it go the complete other way? Absolutely. And knowing the Ravens, they may not go this direction. But hey, if Declan Doyle and if they think that's their top priority, they'll go get them. But I'm telling you, like offensive and defensive line need to be the priority. I don't. You kind of baited me into that with that list, but it doesn't have to all be through free agency. It can
Nope.
be through like the draft. And I mean, again, I think out of all their picks, if they're going to hold on to all their picks, you just start drafting in the trenches and see what happens and
I
go
love it.
from
Well,
there.
that's all I got for the rundown, Jason.
Fantastic. All right. What else do I have here? Okay, Baltimore Orioles. So not a lot's happening. We are kind of just waiting, but not a lot's happening in Major League Baseball at this point. And there's still some very intriguing names left before this. Yes, Mike.
My guy is gone.
Your guy, John.
Arias, he's gone.
Oh yeah, he signed with the Giants today.
Yeah. Maybe because they're
Okay.
taller than everybody else, and he's
Yep.
the Giants, so maybe we just missed out. But apparently, he really wanted to play second base, and the
Mm-hmm.
Giants were offering him an opportunity to play second base. He didn't really want to play first base, so he probably would not have been a great fit in Baltimore if that were the case, because they would have had to bounce him around the infield a little bit to fit him in. So, goodbye, Luis. It was a dream that never came true.
So I was listening to some of my favorite fantasy baseball analysts today. And I mean, these guys have won a lot of awards and whatnot. And the reason why they were kind of saying that he was still out there and not signed was his WAR. He used to be a 3+ guy, a 2.5+ guy. Three every year is starting to go down, and it's mainly too because of his defense and the liability that he has. He's now like a 1+ on the WAR category. So he's really declined in a lot of that. Can he still hit the ball? Sure. But I think last year was like one of his like worst seasons. So he might be trending down. And he was in a
And he
great
doesn't
lineup.
draw a lot of walks. He's not like
Right.
getting on base otherwise either. So, and he doesn't hit for power.
Right. So he reminds me a lot of like an 80s baseball player, like a Cardinals player back when they were winning World Series and stuff like that. Just a slap guy that wins batting titles because I think he's won two. So good ball player. I'm glad he landed on his feet. But I didn't know how he's going to fit here. But as far as everything goes, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, Verlander and Gallen and now Giolito and Framber. I think we've all decided that they need another pitcher to really get into that elite status. For me, if it's still Framber through signing, but trades, everything's kind of just there.
What do you
Not a
think's
whole lot happening.
what do you think's taking so long, Jason, with the Framber thing? Because I I I was joking with the guys. I played some X golf, which is that indoor golf
Mm,
stuff that you go out, and I had a couple guys, and we were just hitting some golf balls, playing around up there, which is nice because you can play golf in like 2 hours on the simulator. It takes you 4 hours to play in person, so I get in less trouble at home.
nice.
But I was jokingly saying to the guys, I'm like, why? I mean, when I wake up in the morning every day, the first thing I should do probably is say, I love you to my wife and say good morning and give hugs to my kids. But the first thing I do is go to MLBTradeRumors.com and see if the Orioles have signed Framber Valdez. And why do I keep having to do that? What is going on with Framber?
I think it's a combination of the years being a Boris client. Um, I don't. I really do think it's just down to like three teams or two teams, maybe a third and a mystery team. Um, I I'm just having a hard time with it too, Mike. I don't know. Like I think there's an offer in there, and I think he's just waiting, hoping somebody else is going to do it. Unless they submitted an offer and they're like, if you go to, like you're at 4 years, if you go to 5 or 6, we're in. They're like, well, we're not doing that right now. Come back to us when you're ready. So I think it's something like that.
Are they waiting for the Dodgers to come swooping in and give him the crazy amount of money that no other team's willing to spend? That's what always I'm thinking of in the back of my head. It's always,
Right.
oh, nobody signs up. The Dodgers going to swoop him up because they can just sign whoever they want.
If I had to take a guess, it's between the Giants, the Mets, and the Orioles. However, I still seem to think that like Arizona might be one of those teams that could swoop in and grab him. I don't think he gets more than I think what maybe this is hold up. Maybe he wants the Ranger Suarez deal, but I don't see why he couldn't get that. I have a feeling that one's actually on the table. If it's the Orioles, it might not be quite that much. It may be 4 years. He is 32 years old. Ranger's a little younger. So that's where the years come into play a little bit. But he was an outfielder. I don't know if you knew this. He was an outfielder when he came up. There isn't a lot of wear and tear on his arm as far as pitching. So I would be more inclined to go 4 years with an option for a fifth. Or who cares? Give him the 5 years. Like I don't
Yes.
At this point it really
money.
isn't give him money.
Just give him some money. Hey, some other quick baseball things I was curious about your opinion on was Austin Hayes signed with the White Sox, which is good to see a former Oriole, and maybe Chicago is a nice, easy place to play with not a ton of expectations. So maybe he can have a bounce back year.
I actually like that a lot. I was going to bring that up. By the way, Chicago's kind of under the radar with 3 significant signings, like Austin Hayes, what's his face, Dominguez from the Orioles to close out games, and Murakami, who they were. Now I don't know how great he'll be, but they're taking the chance. They're swinging, and I'm not convinced they'll be the laughing stock of baseball. I think they could be working themselves up, and they got that haul from the Mets as well.
And the last note I have for baseball, Jason, I don't know what you have, but the Athletics extended Jacob Wilson. I don't know if you saw that deal, but it was a 7-year contract with an option for an 8th, reportedly $70 million.
$10 million a year.
Which is kind of similar, I think, to the Basayo extension-ish. Not perfectly similar, but it's similar range. So interesting. Jacob Wilson came on the scene last year, was an awesome young shortstop, put the ball in play, average, had some gap power, like good baseball player, good for the A's.
Yeah, I mean that's a buy out my arbitration years and then some, right? And you'll still sign another big contract down the road. I like that as well. It's $10 million a year though. I mean that's not going to break anyone. Even the great owners in Oakland / Sacramento / LA, wherever they're going, or Vegas, wherever they're going.
Yeah.
So interesting. Okay, I thought we'd play a quick game, kinda. We need to predict the Orioles lineup this year based on the players that they currently have. I have some thoughts, and I know you have some thoughts. So we're gonna do it together. We're gonna give our opinions, see if we can come to an agreement. I would say we should probably start with the leadoff hitter and who it's gonna be. And my opinion might not be a very popular one. What do you think?
You're going to say Gunnar Henderson, and I'm going to say Jackson Holliday is probably where this is going, because I like Gunnar a little further down the lineup, but he showed a propensity to steal bases last year, showed the ability to, obviously he's always shown the ability to get on base, and then obviously you're only batting leadoff for 1 inning necessarily, so there's argument to be made, for him having runners on base in multiple innings beyond that. So, but for me, I just like to see him in a 2 or 3 hole. But I would say Jackson Holliday, hopefully he takes the next step forward and can get on base a little more and can steal a few more bags. And he's got that speed at the top of the lineup that you'd like.
Yeah, so it's obviously going to depend on what Albernaz thinks, what his theory is here. But I mean, he had Quan in Cleveland, who is like a prototypical leadoff hitter, right? There's no one on this roster that's like that. I have now came back to where I was before, where your best players should be getting the most at bats, and the difference in at bats number of bats between the 1 spot and the 3 is pretty significant. And I'm not so sure that at this point I want Jackson Holiday to have that more at bats than my best player on the team, which is Gunnar Henderson. So I'm actually between 2 guys, maybe even a third. And the third's kind of out of the box. I'm saying Gunnar Henderson or Jordan Westberg. Although for some reason Jordan Westberg is like the perfect number 2 hitter in my mind if I'm building a lineup. Or don't kill the messenger. Taylor Ward is leadoff hitter. He's done it before. I again though I'm now nervous about Gunnar at that point if you do that. But so here's my thing. Say we put Gunnar in the 1 hole. I think it's so important that you have Alonso behind Gunnar. So that, in my mind, bumps Alonso to the number 2 spot. And then all of a sudden, like Westberg to the 3 spot. Because I think the protection that Alonso gives to Gunnar, I just so you know where I'm going with all this, Jackson Holiday is my like number 9 hitter or my number 8 or 9 hitter in this lineup. And I think it makes him so much better being down there as well. So what do you think? What is your? I mean, obviously Westberg to me is the prototypical.
Yeah, guy. So I love Westberg in the 2 hole. So I would say Jackson, Holiday, then Westberg, and then that sets the table for Gunnar as your number 3 hitter, and then you go lefty, then righty with Alonso, and I love that in the 3-4 hole. It reminds me of any solid lineup that just has those middle of the order thumpers there. And then I think it depends on the pitcher at that point, right? Lefty, righty, all that kind of stuff. But you just had a righty, so maybe then you go Rutschman or Basayo, whoever's catching. Rutschman can do both, obviously. And then Taylor Ward. And you're just alternating righties and lefties through the middle of your lineup, which can make late game strategy tough for an opposing manager. And then you have O'Neill and then Mayo, Basayo, whoever's playing first base, and then Cowser. I would bet Cowser in the wraparound position in the number 9 hole.
Well, Mike, I think Alonso's playing first base, my friend.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I had him at DH in this one lineup, but yeah, like you obviously you got O'Neill who's going to DH, Alonso who's going to play first. I'm sure you're going to have all that going on. This was a lineup I created long ago, but I think my point is I like Gunnar 3, Alonso 4. Those other guys can go wherever as far as. And I would not be upset if you bumped Gunnar to 2 and Alonso to 3. I just think 1 and 2 is too high. Like I would go 2-3 if I was to go up in the lineup a little bit, but I'm not going any higher than that. I think that if you want to have Alonso right behind Gunnar, then you can't have Gunnar leading off, or else you're going to have someone between them. That's just the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Look, if that's the case and Gunner's not leading off, then I mean, I would definitely think it's Westberg or Ward at that point. Somebody. I mean, I guess the idea is you get more fastballs from leadoff spot too initially. But then once the game starts, that doesn't matter. That's why I'm big on having Gunnar getting the most at bats on this team. But whatever they decide, I'm sure. And then another lineup decision I have, I am not convinced, depending on health-wise and how the spring goes. I think O'Neill is your favorite to be your starting right fielder, and I think Beavers is your 4th outfielder or coming or starting in AAA.
You could be right. You could be right there, Jason. Like I like about Beavers as your 4th outfielder is he can play a bunch of different spots and he's got a little bit of speed. Just a different. If you have O'Neill and Ward, Beavers is a little different player, which I kind of like as far as rotating him into the lineup. You can move him probably to a different spot. You could probably lead him off. You can bat him in the 9 hole. It gives you some versatility in your lineup. And one last thing to just touch on too is like if I'd be okay with Gunnar in the 2 hole and Alonso in the 3 hole, and that wouldn't change too much. I kind of like having a lefty in that 2 hole. You get that leadoff guy on base, and then you're pulling the ball to right field, and you're getting him first to third, which is nice to see. Unless your right-handed hitter can handle the bat and hit it the opposite way. But it's just kind of natural sometimes to get that lefty.
Just think of how deep this lineup is getting. Now that I think about it, though, I mean, I was thinking, I mean, between Basayo, Cowser, and Holiday being somewhere in those last three spots. Unfortunately, those are three lefties, and you probably don't want to get in the position of having lefties back to back to back. But maybe it doesn't matter to them. And it all depends on if there's a lefty on the mound or a righty. But I'm just assuming it'll be a righty here because there's more righties than left-handers that you face. And then Tyler O'Neill and Rutschman break that up because I'm thinking Cowser in center, Warden left, O'Neill in right, and then Alonso Basayo your DH, Rutschman behind the plate, and then Holiday, Gunner, and Westberg.
Yeah.
So if that's your opening day lineup or your most popular lineup at this point, you are so deep. Once you get past that 5 spot, Rutschman batting fifth or later. In this lineup,
as long as you're healthy, you're
yeah.
deep. That's the only thing. As long as you're healthy, you're deep, and that's something the Orioles had issues with last year. Now we just got to get that starter. And you talked about Gallen and Giolito, and I like, to me, they need to sign a starter that will start a playoff game. Like, if you're not going to sign a guy who you would start a playoff game with, then maybe you just get them for insurance purposes or just depth. Then I'm not shooting for the stars at that point. I don't need Gallen. Like, if you're just going to get somebody, get somebody. Like, I don't need the high price tag. So just, if you're going to get Framber, get him. If not, finish up with a Verlander or something like that, and then just go into the season and see what happens at the trade deadline.
The issue with who's left in free agency is just that if you look at Gallen, those numbers have really decreased over the last years. And Verlander walked a lot more guys than he ever has before last year. Still a decent ERA, but he lost velocity no, he actually didn't lose velocity at the end of the year, but he's 43 years old. Do you want to put your eggs in that basket? I don't. And then we can revisit the trade talks. I don't know how open Kansas City is, but Bubic to me is one guy that I would definitely be interested in. And again, between Bods and him starting a playoff game, I would. He was pretty impressive last year. So that's one of the guys on my list. Obviously Joe Ryan, but God knows what's happening there. I don't know, man. It's tough to think who else might be available at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, and the last piece obviously is bullpen, and how do you feel about the bullpen going into the season? And I feel good. I don't feel great. That's how I feel about the bullpen right now. I'd love to see the finishing touches be put on the bullpen, and whatever Mike Elias thinks those need to be. But I think one of the pieces needs to be another lefty added to the mix somehow. I don't know how you feel about that, Jason. I've been harping on the Danny Coulomb thing for a while now, but like somebody in that mold who can be your lefty specialist in the bullpen, I think is important. And that guy might be a Cade Povich or somebody down the minors, but they need to add that piece to the bullpen.
So I'm getting the idea that the fact that they let all these signings go by, they went out and they identified the two guys that they wanted in the bullpen, that they want to give a shot to either young guys that they've had in the system or guys that came over in all those trades last year with the Mets and I think they want to give, because I actually feel better about the bullpen than I thought I would at this point. I don't think it's complete, but they might try to fix it, Mike, from within. Guys that are now in the organization that came back in those trades and whatnot, and let them win it in spring training. You know what? If things don't go good, you do what you did with Cologne and you pick him up towards the end of spring training because you need to add pieces. That I think that is the direction they're going to go. There isn't a lot of guys out there that they can go sign. I think there's some concerns about Cologne and his health again. And he was actually talking about retirement. So I don't know I just thought that if they were going to sign him, they would have signed him by now, because then they can get him in here and start getting. We're only less than a month away. So
crazy, man. Time flies. I can't wait for the birds to fly south to spring training. I'm excited.
You too are flying south to spring training. Your big announcement. We're going to go watch the Orioles and the Pirates play in Bradenton. And then the
Boy,
Orioles.
my arms are going to be tired when I get in there, Jason, from all that flying.
Oh my gosh! I mean, I don't even know what to say.
Who are we seeing? Who are we seeing, Jay?
Hold on.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so we are watching the Orioles and the Pirates in Bradenton. On the Friday, you will be here, and then Saturday, the Orioles and Atlanta Braves in Sarasota. And Sarasota and Bradenton are right next to each other, about 5 minutes, about 10 minutes apart, depending on traffic.
So they could share a soda with each other? Is that what you're saying?
They could. They certainly could. And I'm wondering, though, if when we go to Bradenton, if some of the starters will be playing since it's right next door, essentially, to them. It's a quick bus ride.
Well, now, is this during the WBC, I think, too?
No.
So oh, sweet. Awesome.
This is still February, so all those guys start reporting, unless they report early. I don't know.
Okay.
So, and that's, I mean, I really just want to see Pete and those guys. I don't think he's on the roster. So, interesting. All right, Mike, do you have anything else you would like to discuss this evening?
No, I think we hit most of the pieces. It's kind of a downtime in the sports world for me. Like I go to find something to watch on TV and I'm flipping through and I'm like, and college basketball doesn't ring quite the same way it does for me when Maryland is playing as poorly as they are. So I'm not paying as close an eye to the Big Ten as I usually would pay, and just can't wait for the Winter Olympics. Excited for spring training. Super Bowl should be exciting. But I think, we're going to turn that page on the NFL season, and then that stuff's going to start. The offseason is going to start heating up, and things are going to get more and more exciting as we go. So just hang in there, people. Good stuff's coming.
Yeah, outstanding. All right. Well, that is all we got for you this evening, and we will catch up with you next time. For Michael Frisky, I'm Jason Weisbecker, and we will see you next time.
Don't forget to subscribe to Dad Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports on Red Circle, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your free podcasts. And while you're at it, leave us a review. It really helps us out. We're trying to spread the good word about Baltimore sports far and wide. Follow us on social media for more behind-the-scenes actions, memes, and bad sports takes. You can find us at Dad Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports on Instagram, and Dad Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports on our Facebook page. Until next time, keep rocking those dad bods, eating those crab cakes, and never miss the game.